Welcome back to another weekly Star Citizen recap. This is the Speed Feed, and we're going to crush through all the Star Citizen news as fast as possible. But first, we're going to learn a new word today. It's called moray, and it's what happens when you wear a shirt with a small pattern on it that makes the camera do this. Whoa. First up, I want you to take a look at the Anvil Asgard. It looks to be a Valkyrie variant, which some people were speculating on before, and we got the best looks at it in this week's Inside Star Citizen, which we're going to be covering later. Oh my gosh, you're supposed to have a 2-minute intro before actually getting to the meat of the video. Okay, might be, but too bad. Here's the rest of the news, because it was a much busier week than the last few. First up, Roadmap Roundup. Let's see if anything's been committed to 4.1.1 or anything new has been added. Repair missions have been committed. You'll be fixing things with fuses and RMC with your multi-tool. I expect this to play big into base building rather than specific missions of their own, of which base building and crafting was actually not mentioned at all, even in the monthly report, so take that as you will. Animal population control missions are coming, which I assume are going to be like the Copion missions, but with other animals, and since the progress tracker did add a new creature and radiation gameplay being worked on, I imagine that we're going to see these new creatures in those areas. Hunt the Polaris mission is coming in 4.11. They've talked about this a few times. You've probably even seen gameplay of people playing it in the PTU. It's going to be a rare event and can only have one active instance of it at a time. So when it pops up, you're definitely going to want to hop on that. Components overall are getting a balance pass, a new Volt weapon, and Wicklow will have some new ships to trade for. Star Lancer Max, Saber Firebird, Saber Peregrine, Zeus ES, Zeus CL, and Crusader Intrepid with top tier components. We already glanced at it before, but there are a couple new things coming, a sandbox activity and location, along with that radiation gameplay I mentioned, and a new creature and another vehicle. I want you to speculate in the comments down below what you think those redacted ships and locations and events might be. Now on to the monthly report. This is a long slew of words that can be very boring for a lot of people, but don't worry. I went through it, and I picked out the things that I think are the most interesting and things that you can probably just ignore for now. They covered a lot of internal stuff, like making it easier to build missions, hence all of the missions that we're getting. Weather and flight models were also mentioned, which makes me optimistic that Planet Tech V5 could be on its way soon, but they did mention with these new models that AI needed rework to deal with it, so who knows how long that's going to take. Also, they mentioned pre-prod for a major upcoming release, which includes weather, creatures, and locations. So I'm just guessing that that's another star system. Maybe major release just means Planet Tech and new flight model, but kind of sounds like a whole new star system. I don't know. How you die in ships is going to be changing. They want you dying less. You're going to have to hit a ship with something big to hard death it, like a railgun or your mama. Also, ships are going to have countdowns before a catastrophic event occurs. This is leading into longer ship combat gameplay to allow engineering to be useful. This overall, in my opinion, is great. I think Star Citizen's combat has been way too fast. Not in speed, but how long these encounters take. Now, this may sound crazy to some people, but in combat, there's just no time to go and do anything to save your ship. Granted, we don't have engineering yet, so there isn't much to do, but space battles, especially with big ships, should be long and tiresome. And CIG has said before that they want some fights ending with people just leaving because they know they're losing, out of ammo, or it's just a stalemate. This is huge if they want us to actually care about our ship and its components, because as of right now, I don't give a damn about upgrading my ship. First off, it feels incomplete, and secondly, I know I'm probably going to die very soon and lose everything anyways. The countdowns and soft death moves us towards more of that intended gameplay I think that they've always talked about. The combat itself can be fast, but those engagements need to last a little bit longer to feel like an actual battle is going on, especially against bigger ships. Can you imagine getting out of the end of a battle that's lasted like 20 to 30 minutes and winning that? That's going to be crazy. That's a story to tell. FPS scanning was reworked when you're doing a quick scan to only show items that are out of line of sight so that your screen isn't cluttered with things that you can already see in front of you. I think this system really leans into scanning and exploration gameplay actually. Since they can separate what items, or at least within a vicinity items, are being shown on the scanner, imagine being able to go out with a ship that's meant for exploration and scanning and only scan for certain materials like mining, or maybe you want enemy outposts. You then scan, map out an area with very specific points of interest, and then sell those maps. And you can even play into the fact that modules for scanning could give you more power to be able to track more things at once. You could easily say in lore that the ships only have a certain amount of power to track, say, 5 items. So once you go to that 6th item, you're losing another item, as it's constantly tracking as you scan and fly over that field. This leads into now a skill-based gameplay loop where you have to choose what things you're going to be scanning, what to keep on the map, what to sell, and what's going to be valuable valuable. I don't know, maybe it sucks or I've done a bad job of explaining it, but I feel like this could be a good foundation for exploration and scanning gameplay. But you're not here for my opinions, you're here for the news, so let's continue on here. I could give you everything that was covered in the monthly report, but that would be boring, as I said before. The rest of it is just bug fixes and tech advancements in-house or vague UI updates for unannounced ships. But with those in-house tech advancements, that actually brings me to the next point here, so let's move on to ISC, because it was all about 411 and Invictus Launch Week, and the big thing that they mentioned was that there were 60 new missions coming. That's a lot. I can't even count that on my hands. I only get up to like 8. They covered a couple of them. First one, of course, being the Hunt the Polaris mission that I mentioned before, so we don't need to go over that again here. Basically, Frontier Fighters stole a Polaris, you gotta go hunt it down, yada yada. The next was patrol contracts. These are 12 new contracts with non-linear objectives, divided between headhunters and Foxwell. They even mentioned some of these patrol missions are just gonna lead to nothing happening, which I think is okay. After that, we got the Invictus training exercises. These were 3 new missions allowing players to experience being part of the UEE, and originally I thought this was supposed to be a tutorial, but it now sounds like it's not.
This is not a tutorial.
It's more of just advancing you along and trying to make you feel like you're a part of the UEE as missions get harder and harder. I was a little disappointed in this. I think we need more in-the-moment lessons for players to understand and be taught some of the more advanced and complicated mechanics in the game. But then we had ambush contracts where players lie in wait for their target, also split between Foxwell and headhunters. This, in my opinion, was another chance for them to explain things to the players. Have a beginner ambush mission that explains emissions, since you'll be hiding in high emission areas waiting for someone to show up. Not explaining these mechanics at least once to a player means so many players go without even realizing that this is a thing. While I appreciate the learn from others in the game, it's hard to ask questions about the things that we don't even realize we should be asking. Even just making a player realize that, oh my god, this mechanic is deep and complicated, can be enough to trigger them into asking around in global chat or on forums. But the missions will be a fun way to mix up that standard combat gameplay and make it really feel like you're stealthing along and give you a little bit of that adrenaline rush once the mission actually starts and your target shows up. And it's a safer way for players that don't know the emission systems as well to really practice that without trying to do that in the real world where you're facing another player that could just kill you if you did it wrong. Now, some missions are going to feature extremely dangerous ace pilots who carry valuable guild script, which was mentioned in the leaks that we covered a few weeks ago. Take them down, get some script, and then go spend that either with your guild or on Wicklow. And as we know, Invictus Launch Week and a free fly is coming up. They covered this in Inside Star Citizen, so I gotta tell you that because it's the recap. And they did say this one will be a little bit different, showcasing the ships better and also putting a focus on ship components. This feels like they're really beginning to lean into that modularity of the ships and engineering, especially having blades on display. There's gonna be kiosks to rent the ships from now, and the Idris will be at Area 18 to check out, so don't miss that tour. Also at the end of Inside Star Citizen, they mentioned that they're hiring gameplay capture personnel. I applied, so don't you dare and take my job. But if you do, good luck. And good luck. My shots are sick. Also, if you're watching this as it goes live, I'm live streaming at 1 p.m. EDT, and I'm giving away a copy of Claire Obscure to my Fourth Wall subscribers. So come by and check it out. Or if you don't want to do that, come by next Saturday for the next Star Citizen Weekly Recap. Or watch this video over here to find out why I've been loving Claire Obscure. Also on that channel, that's my main channel, go search for commercials and see why my shots are so sick. I also did some documentaries on like Microtech and Hurston a while back, so go look through the old videos, type search, and do all that stuff. Bye!